Hi, can everybody hear me okay?
Yep.
Great stuff. Okay, thanks very much for coming to our seminar today. With me I have Brian Dominy, our Chief Software Programmer, who many of you will know from competing with him. Then we also have Janos Kiss, who's also our software programmer as well. And we have a new addition to our team, actually, right at the back there, James Trott, who's also joining the programming side as well. So what we'd like to do is talk to you about us, where we've come from, where we've come to now. We're going to give you some updates as to what's been happening over the last couple of weeks. Did anybody see our presentation at Pintastic in Boston 2 or 3 weeks ago? Oh, good. So I'm not going to be repeating myself. I didn't want anybody to have to hear the same stuff twice. And we've got some new stuff in here for you today anyway. But we'll go into that a little bit later. Maybe a bit of information on our second game, possibly for you, in a short while. Does everybody here know what our second game is going to be? Yeah, okay, cool, excellent. Of course, I'm Andrew Heighway. I'm the CEO of the company and the founder of the company. And first of all, I'd just like to say a huge thank you for the huge warm welcome we've received here this last sort of 4 days. We all love coming to the States. There's such sort of passion and enthusiasm over here, so it really is a pleasure to be here, and an even bigger pleasure for us to have you play our game and sort of give us feedback as well. You can't get a better test bed for a pinball machine than 16 hours of continuous play. We've had the odd little glitch, but generally speaking, the games have held up well, and we've really enjoyed your feedback. So we're going to go through everything, then we're going to have a small sort of Q&A at the end for any questions you may have. We've got a couple of signed posters here of Full Throttle 2, which we'd like to, we'll ask a couple of quiz questions, and whoever gets them can take away the posters. So we'll get started. We've sort of got a mixture of some photos to show you, which will do some explanations, got some videos to show you along the way too. And also I might invite Janos and Brian to say a couple of words, and of course if you have questions for them as well about the software, we can do that at the end as well. So let's get started. Just a short intro. Okay, so our first game then, Full Throttle. First of all, here's a video that we just released recently. Wales in the UK. So that's a video we posted most recently on our YouTube channel. We've just got a new video we've just prepared to sort of from where we've come to where we are now. This hasn't been released yet, so we're showing it to you all exclusively first now. That's one of the band members, by the way, playing that game. So to show you a few extra photos from the factory, these were our first 4 prototypes, showing some of the variants that we have, like the limited edition types of cabinets, some of the earlier cabinets as well. So a lineup really of our first 4 games that we made at Full Throttle. This was our old factory. When you saw at the start of the video, quite a smallish factory. That was 14,000 square feet. And when we did our Bacardi game, which I'll talk about in a minute, we quickly realised we were going to run out of space very quickly. So we actually moved factories last October, just around the time of Pinball Expo. We moved from 14,000 square feet up to, in fact, actually, I'll use that as one of the quiz questions in a minute. So we'll come back to that in a minute. Doesn't look so great on the outside, but it's much bigger on the inside. So this brings me on to some of the developments we've had over the last couple of months. We have ambitions to be a large mainstream manufacturer, making hundreds and hundreds of games every month. In order to do that, we've had to increase our factory space, which is what we've done. But we've also invested in a lot of new machinery to try to make as much in-house as possible. Because in order to be able to stay competitive on pricing, we have to keep our bill of materials down, which means that we need to try to keep things really as cheap as possible, but without sacrificing on quality. And that's the second part of this, which is quality, which is when you're using suppliers, you're constantly having to check up on them. You get the parts in, you have to check them. If the quality's not so good, you have to send the parts back, get them remade, maybe get them redesigned. It's a learning process for everybody, but it can be very time consuming. So one of the questions often asked to us is, why is it taking so long for you to get your games to the market? Well, if we want to release a quality game which has a great feel, which is going to be reliable, which is going to stand the test of time, you've got to get it right. And unfortunately, doing that takes time. So this is one of the reasons why it's taken us a lot longer, let's say, to get to market than we would have hoped. Now, what you see in the picture here, these are 2 injection moulding machines. So all the parts you see on a pinball playfield, for example, the light lenses, the flipper bats, for example, the plastic, nylon plastic flipper bushings, all the small little plastic parts, we will soon be able to make in our factory with these 2 machines. This is the beast. About 4.5 tons of metal. This thing, although slightly old, in 1989, this was state of the art, and it's one of these kind of things with industrial equipment. When you buy quality equipment and you keep it running and you keep it well maintained, then they just go on and on forever. And so we'll be actually cutting all of our own wood, all of our own plastics, using this CNC machine. We've got a video here, actually, some of our machines coming, and I just thought it might be interesting to show you, because it illustrates the logistics of putting large equipment into a factory. So that was our CNC machine being installed. Now this is our latest piece of equipment being installed, and this really is quite a special piece of equipment. So what this is an 8x4 UV flatbed printer. This is a serious piece of hardware. And actually, I'm going to use the opportunity now to give away one of our posters. I think it's an opt time. So what I'm going to ask is, whoever gets what a new price of one of these costs, whoever gets closest gets a signed poster. So so let's start it off. But just before I say this, what this does is we can print all of our own playfields in-house, all of our plastics in-house, basically so we can keep a check on all the quality, make sure everything is good, and obviously keep the costs down. So if you've got any guesses as to how much, we'll go in US dollars. One guess per price. We're flexible, we can work in dollars as well. So how much do you think this piece of equipment cost you? 200,000? I like it. Increments of 5. Okay. How much, sir? No. $1.2 million. 700,000. Okay, anybody else want to guess before I move? 380. 40. $1. Okay, it was £245,000. Okay, we got any final offers before we? It sounds like I'm running an auction here. Anybody else? Okay, it's $150,000. So somebody said 140, I think, didn't they? I think was the closest.
I said 120.
You said 120. Somebody said 140. Oh, you said 165, so it was the other way. Did anybody else think they said anything closer? Yeah, I think it's you. Do you want to come up, sir? We'll give you your poster. Round of applause, please, for the gentleman.
Awesome. Thank you.
Poster signed by the designer Dave Sanders. So we can print approximately, we think it's within 20-25 minutes, or within 30 minutes we can print 4 playfields within that time. And it's a CMYK process with a white backing, with white underside in order to bring the colours up. This is a cut-out playfield. These are playfields. You see, we do a reference print on a white paper on top of the printer first, and you can see 2 other playfields there having just been printed. I'm sorry? Correct, yes. But you have to seal the playfield first. It's one of the tricks that you have to learn. Believe me, I went through printers up and down the country in the UK trying to get this process right. And it's actually quite funny to tell you a small story here. I went to one printer, and this company says they've got all the machines. Absolutely, they can go and do it. So I went into this place. And they do, they have many, many printers, but they're sort of, you know, they're pièce de la résistance. They've got this massive printer, which is the size of a 2-story building. So you're in there and you're just looking up at this thing. I mean, it's gargantuan in size. It's like about 100 times the size of the Whopper in, in war games. And so this sort of huge bed comes out, many times bigger than an 8x4. And you put it on here, it disappears in there, and this print head the size of a car is flying backwards and forwards, and you think, Jesus, all the lights are going to be dimming here, there's so much power going into this thing. And when the stuff came out, it was just like really grainy. They were just so proud of this machine, this like 10 million pound monster from China or something like that. And stuff comes out and it's like, really? We can't build playfields with this kind of stuff. So really we went up and down the country, and in actual fact, we got pointed in the right direction by a good friend of ours, John Greatwich, over in Canada. And he told us about some machines he'd been using for restoration. So we started going down that path, and the irony was that there was a printing company a few doors down from us that had this printer. I mean, what were the odds? What were the odds?
What's the manufacturer of the printer?
Canon. Yeah, Canon. Well, it was before it was OC, then it became Canon. So, yeah, so we went down that route and we were very happy with the results. You can really get a great definition in there. But, I mean, literally, it was I would say, a 3-year process from start to getting it right. of trial and error. You know, having playfields there look beautiful, and then stuff starts peeling off there like an orange. You know, just so yeah, it was a very long process, but you know, we're very happy with the results we got in the end. No, because we had those bats printed so we could bring some to a couple of shows. That was about 3 or 4 months ago, so it was before we got the printer in. Well, you spot print the white, so you don't blitz it with white. To be honest, it would be much better if we could go and do that. We save a fortune on white ink if you could just like blitz the whole thing. But because you want and need to show wood in certain areas, and the other thing is as well as your inserts, if you printed the whole thing with white, then you have white all over your lens inserts. So you can't do it that way. Correct. Yeah, the white layer goes down first, then the CMYK straight afterwards. Full throttle.
To be the best takes skill, commitment, determination. To be the best, you must be prepared to go full throttle.
You can beat me? Don't make me laugh.
Has anybody noticed who's played the game just how much Francisco Valentino, the arch rival, the arch villain, actually insults you during gameplay? I don't know whether that's ended up offending anybody, but it actually can get a lot worse than that. We actually, I'm a firm believer that you know, adults like to be treated like adults, and we actually have a mode that we will be releasing in the future where when we recorded all the sounds, we did some expletives and stuff like that as well. Everybody knows about, you know, what happened on the likes of Star Trek Next Generation and I think Terminator and so on, where the stuff was outtakes. Well, we actually did a full set of lines and everything as well, because we thought it'd be kind of funny, you know, when you're in a bar with your mates and you have this thing turned on, and you know, it's a bit risque. So we'll release that in the future, but it will only be in circumstances when there are no children involved, as in who can hear it. Here's just a few shots here. Oh, by the way, just going about the music you're listening there, you only generally listen to that particular piece of music during multi-ball, and we did that because we wanted to make it special. We didn't want to have it repeating over and over again, but that's a very famous piece of music, and this is the reason why I approached this band to do it, because in actual fact, I'm going to ask another question here. It's not going to have a prize on this occasion, but see if anybody knows. That band, anybody know what their claim to fame is? That particular music, where it's used, does anybody know? Absolutely. The Isle of Man TT races, obviously the most famous street racing race in the world. And it's an amazing race, and they are an amazing band. King of the Mountain is really a first-class track. But we have music throughout the whole of their album, Vice. So I would strongly recommend, if you quite like the music from it, if you check them out, either on YouTube or you have a look for Redline and look for their album Vice, because it really is an amazing, album. Just shows you the many kinds of colours that we can use. Every single, I don't know if anybody knows, but every single bulb that we use on our playfield is addressable RGB LED, which means if you remember in the past, you always used to have these divisions between all these 3 different classes of lighting. You had your CPU-controlled lighting, you had your general illumination, and you had your flashes. And because of the various powers coming to a pinball machine, you had to deal with them all in different ways. And to be honest, it was a nightmare from a servicing point of view. You had burnt connectors for GI because the incandescent bulbs were getting so hot. You had flashes that would stick on and so on. But what we have now, what we use in our game, is every single one. The flashes, the CPU controlled, the divisions have gone. It's all treated as one. They're all individually addressable. And I don't know if you, what you think of the lighting effects that we've got in Full Throttle. We're very proud of what we've achieved with the lighting effects so far, but there's so much more that we can do. I mean, like, and I'll talk about our second game shortly in a bit, but it gives us so much possibilities to create atmosphere or unique atmospheres with the game, but I'll go into that in a bit more detail when we come around to that. It's another shot of the playfield. One thing that we do as a company is we're very keen to hear feedback from people, because, you know, we have our ideas about where to go, but we don't get it right every time. So if people suggest something new to us, you know, we're always open to listen. And one thing that was suggested to us by members of the pinball community, as well as operators, is that although we have our screen in the playfield, and the reason why we do that, because as players ourselves, you know, our focus is down there on the flipper area. If you're looking up at the back box, then either your ball is out of play or you're holding it, but so often you miss these fantastic animations that are going up on the screen. So we felt that by having it there on the playfield, it would always be within your peripheral vision, even if you weren't looking directly at it. So, but we also have now as an optional extra this screen which goes into the back box area as well, for people who just like having the screen there, or for operating environments where you can actually, you know, you want people maybe to stand around and be able to see the scores and what's going on without having to look down onto the playfield itself. It also makes it a bit easier as well for things like tournament play. This just shows you how we pack our games at the moment. We can fit 24 games into a 20-foot shipping container, and we use foam inserts to protect the game during shipping. It sits on a pallet. Then we use cardboard cutouts to help hold the back box up in place, and then the whole thing gets sort of shrink wrapped. And the cardboard box over the top, then banded down, and off it's ready for shipping. This, just a couple of photos here. We had our national broadcaster, ITV, which most of you will know BBC, but ITV is has always been the second broadcaster. So they were there filming a piece for us only a couple of weeks ago. Just more pictures of our assembly line at the beginning. We have a lot of parts being assembled by Andrew and Nikki in the factory. These are cabinets having arrived. We use a local supplier who makes the cabinet carcasses themselves for us. They come empty and then we build them up from there. These are back boxes arriving on pallets. And this is a part of the glass magazines. This is a playfield rack, so we can transport playfields safely around the factory and to other suppliers if we need to. Here's a box of screen chassis for the LCD screens, the small LCD screens. More bags of parts, lots and lots of wiring. Although, talking about wiring, one of the things about our games is that, you know, wiring can cause such problems on pinball machines, dry solder joints, snagged wires, and, you know, it's one of the challenges when you're trying to repair an old machine, and that, you know, if it's not working, quite often it can be a wiring problem. So one of our challenges was to try to reduce the wiring as much as possible. So we've brought it down from a traditional 800 metres of wiring in a pinball game down to approximately 50 metres of wiring now. And there's very little soldering on any of our games. Some more wiring, and more wiring, and more wiring, and a lot more wiring. And these were the two games that you see here that were just being prepared before the Boston show. So they've done the whole of the Boston Pintastic show, and they've obviously now done the whole of Replay 2. So this was just all the games being assembled, tested. The underside of our playfield. You'll notice again, as I was saying, the complete lack of wiring underneath there. And Roman, our technical director. And this was the packaging I was just telling you about. The game's just about to be shipped out. And the funny thing is, they look all nice together there. By the time they arrived in Boston on one trip, they were looking not quite so nice in their boxes there, and by the time they got delivered here, they were looking really very, very bad. The pallet at the bottom had disintegrated and so on, so I don't know what they were doing during the shipping process, but it wasn't nice. And just our assembly team now. Going off onto TNT. There we go. So, here we are, Barry Ausler, who is designing games for us. He's designed games 3 and 4, as we all know, Full Throttle. Yeah, my hair was a lot browner then. It seems to have gone quite grey recently. I don't know why. So Barry has been designing games 3 and 4. So obviously Full Throttle, our first game, Alien Pinball, our second game, and Barry's designed 3 and 4. 3 and 4 are both very strong licenses as well, and both of them are actually ready to be built as prototypes at the moment. So we've got quite a backlog of games now. So, how many of you know that we've done some business with Bacardi? Basically what happened, I'll tell us a very brief story about this. We were approached in the summer of 2013 about maybe designing a game for Bacardi, who of course are the largest privately owned drinks company in the world, and they wanted a game for promotional reasons for a multi-billion-pound campaign, or multi-billion-dollar campaign around the world, and they wanted this promotional tool to go in and out of bars. I think it was 4 bars every night, so 1 hour in a bar, take it out, move it to another bar every night as part of this promotion and get people drinking lots of Bacardi Gold. So they asked us about it, we gave them a development budget cost, I think it was about $22,000. They went with a different company. This was in the summer. Then they come back to us in December. Oh, and they said to us at the time, oh no, we don't think it's going to happen. So they come back to us in December and said, actually, it is going to happen, but we went to this other company and we weren't happy at all with what they gave us. The prototype doesn't work. They're not keen about making changes. They don't want to work to our schedule. So that's it. We really wish we'd have gone with you guys in the first place. So at this stage now, we're only 4.5 months away from the launch of their campaign, and their campaign literally cannot move by a day. They've got TV ad campaigns and everything going out all globally, and this thing has to be in countries all around the world ready to go for this campaign. And Bacardi's own procurement department were quoting them 9.5 months to turn this thing around to be able to do it. That's them handling this, and nobody else was coming even close. But I stupidly like a challenge, and we basically did it. We designed, built, and shipped out 251 games in 4.5 month period. I mean, literally, we had no days even to go, and as flexibility on this. And they loved it, to be honest. It went very well in the campaign. The global CEO of Bacardi played it and loved it. And so we offered a warranty with this game, and we're thinking, what's going to happen? Are we, is everything going to go okay with the game? So months passed, heard nothing. We had one service call in, what is it now? It's a 1.25 years now. We had one service call. A rather panicked person from Bacardi called us and said, because this has got LED lighting inside it to light up the playfield, but also if you see at the top, the Bacardi, that's lit too. But one of the unique things about this is we don't have any wiring between the top. We actually pass the 12 volts through the poles, the support poles there. So you have one big 12 volt lithium ion battery which basically powers the whole thing. And we'd overspec this thing because we knew what it was going to be doing, and we the criteria was from the client 4 hours of power every night. So we spec'd this up as 8 hours. So we thought that even a year later, this thing is still going to be, giving at least 4 hours, which is what they wanted. So this was about like 2 months after the USA campaign started then, and I get this panicked call from the agency we've been dealing with, and they said, oh, the batteries aren't holding their power, we've got big problems, we need you to order another 200 batteries. And we're like, well, what's going on here, because we've overspec'd this stuff, what's happening? They couldn't be very clear with the store, so we went off, we got the quotes, but we said, look, you need us to be more specific, what are the problems here? Heard nothing from them for about a week. Then they get on the phone to us, said, oh, we think we realised what the problem was. Said, we didn't realise that these batteries were rechargeable, that you had to charge them. So they'd like run for 8 hours, and that was it, and obviously it wasn't working anymore. So I mean, I think if we had invented the self-recharging battery, I think we'd be making other stuff than pinball machines right now. So we're quite pleased about that. So when they learned how to plug it in, then everything went fine. And funny enough, one thing a lot of people ask us a lot is, could they get hold of a Bacardi game? Because it is different. It is it is something new. So we're actually it's not up on our website yet, although we did announce it at Pintastic a few weeks ago. But we are actually going to be doing a run of just 100 games for customers, for private customers, Bacardi games, doing it as a sort of a limited edition run. But we're just making 100, and that's it. This was one of the, we wanted to make a quality piece here, and Bacardi wanted a quality piece. So this is no sort of laminated woods or anything, this is like solid oak. So this is a solid oak cabinet, using a pinball plunger. funny enough, one of the problems we had, because it's a figure of 8, it's a head-to-head figure of 8 game where you launch the balls, and because they wanted this a specific size, they wanted to use steel pinballs. So we started testing with steel pinballs, but we couldn't get the geometry right on this thing, because you've got to launch it, the balls have got to fall down in a certain area to try to win the game. And so we played around with different sizes of balls. In the end, the best ball was a plastic ball, but they didn't want plastic balls, so we had to go back to steel balls. So we ended up using, was it Janos, a 7/8 of an inch ball in the end? Yeah, 7/8 of an inch ball for this game, and it worked just perfectly with that. So our second game, Alien Pinball. We are asked a lot of the time, to show artwork and to show things, and really we would love to do that. But I think all of you know that there's been a couple of instances in the pinball community recently where games haven't materialised. And one of those games, which I'm sure you all know, Predator, was a 20th Century Fox asset. And so one of the issues is that they're just a little bit nervous about releasing too much stuff until there's a nearly finished game. There's still some dust to settle over what's going on behind the scenes. So we want to show you a lot more than they want us to show at the moment. That's just, that's their prerogative as a licensor. Because what you have to understand is that Alien, as a franchise, has been going for what, 36 years now, and it's still really as current now as it was back then. Alien 5 is being made. We've got Prometheus already released, and Prometheus 2 in the pipeline too. So it's probably one of the most valuable film assets in the history of cinema. And we have it obviously as an officially licensed product. We have a great relationship with Fox, but if they want us to do things a certain way, we follow what they want us to do. But where we're at with Alien Pinball at the moment is that we've tested a lot of stuff that's going on to the games. We have models made. I'll talk to you about some of the models in a minute when we see the layout, which you guys are all going to see exclusively in a minute first before it gets posted. So we're going to show you the game we're about to build. So we've already had the initial design, which was designed by Dennis Nordman. We built that. We learnt the best from that. Dave Sanders, our chief designer, took over the design of that game afterwards, and everything that we've learned from that, we've put into this layout, which is about to be built now. But even more so than that is that we didn't feel that the toys that were on Alien really served the license justice. So we spent a lot of time and effort trying to create the right toys for this game as well, and to give the right, the right Alien hit to the fans who want to play this game. So one of the things I'm going to show you now. You'll see, I'll just play it. Just a very short movie there, which just shows you the flashing beacons that are going to be going on top of the limited edition for Alien. Now, one of the things I said at Pintastic a few weeks ago is that we're looking to have a smoke machine mod underneath the machine. So imagine this as a mode. Let me just go to the shots on next. So imagine this. You've got rotating beacons at the top. It's evac mode, that self-destruct mode from the Nostromo in the first film. You've got klaxons going. You've got maybe Mother talking to you in the background. You've got the rotating beacons coming, smoke coming out from underneath the machine. Every single bulb on the playfield flashing and pulsing amber as you're trying to get past this mode. We're really trying to create as much atmosphere with this game as possible. This is no word of a lie, Alien is my favourite movie of all time, and that's the reason why I went after this license. There's so much material in there, there's so many possibilities to have an amazing pin here. So that's why we went after this, but now we've got it, we're determined to do this as much justice as possible. So we're a lot further on than what you may think the stage we're at with this, but as I said, we're about to build a second prototype. We've got a lot of animations already made for the screen. The artwork has already been approved. We're, as far as the back glass and the side art, we're deep into the artwork on the playfield at the moment. Brian is already heavily involved in the rules programming at the moment for Alien 2. So we're at a very sort of advanced stage, and we're about to build up the second prototype, which is supposed to be our final prototype. We're hoping we may need to tweak it one final one for the pre-production version, but this is the version of the playfield we're hoping now is going to be the version we're going to work with. So I'm going to reveal this to you now. I was actually a bit worried it wasn't going to show up on the screen here properly, so I've done some close-ups of the top and bottom as well. But you can see the whole sort of layout here, and you see down underneath the screen we have some modes there. Just to tell you a little bit about where we're going with the basic sort of rules at the moment, is that from Alien, basically at the start of the game you get to select which movie you want to play in first. So you play and you go through modes, and there's 4 modes for each movie, and then there's a wizard mode attached once you have completed those 4 modes. And then once you've completed that, they automatically go on to the next movie. So you've got the Alien string of modes forking off to the top left, and you've got the Aliens modes forking off to the top right. And we'll also have a lot of multiple modes on this as well. So those you see in the middle as well. Now, what I can show you is if you look to the top, and I guess these are 2 of the reveals. I think a lot of you know that we already have like the Alien Queen. We're originally going to have the Alien Queen and the Xenomorph on a rotating. I can't actually show you here. You see where the Queen is to the top left there. That was going to be the Queen and the Xenomorph rotated behind the screen. So we have like what we call the airlock, which is an LCD screen facing the player, showing all the latest modes, or the current mode that is going to be activated. There's a saucer eject in front, and that's where you would collect the mode and start the mode. And then at various points, what is the Alien Queen there will rotate and reveal herself to you. And there's lots of cool stuff we can do here with like strobing white lighting, dimming the lights to try to animate the Queen as well. And the Queen, the model of the Queen is actually, I believe it's going to be finished this Wednesday, so it's virtually complete now at this stage. What maybe, I don't think anybody knows at the moment actually, is we're working very closely with Matt Reister and Back Alley Creations, so I think a lot of you know his work. He's obviously hugely talented. The pop bumpers, what we've got on there is we've got pop bumper eggs, and again these are already in existence. They're moulded, they're painted, and they're made out of sort of a translucent material. Now I don't know if you noticed when Bowen was showing the gameplay there, it's quite strong LEDs on top of the pop bumpers, and we've got a cluster of 5 LEDs there which are really quite strong. So the idea is you have this translucent green egg that sits on top of the pop bumpers, and basically it can glow. You can recreate possibly, the face hugger inside. Even one of the things we're discussing in a moment is when you can set fire to the eggs, but you can have like them glowing orange and as if they're on fire. So some of the cool stuff we're trying to do with the LED effects, but we're very happy with how the eggs have turned out. Matt's done a fantastic job with them. Now, I want to introduce you to what we believe is going to be our main toy now at the moment, and this is about to be built and tested by ourselves, which is in the centre there. It's a Xenomorph head. So the Xenomorph head will be on the playfield in the middle. If you notice, follow down from the tip there with the orange circle, that's a magnet there. So the ball will be held by the magnet on the playfield. Inside the Xenomorph head, and by the way, I'm telling you all this stuff now, things are subject to change, of course, I must stress that, but this is where we are with the development cycle on this at the moment, and this is the main toy that we're developing. The Xenomorph head, the mouth opens, there's a spring-loaded tongue inside the Xenomorph head, and on the end of that is a magnet. So once the ball is held there, literally, and I'll try and do my best with sound effects here, is that the tongue goes like that, eats the ball, brings it inside the Xenomorph head, drops it down inside the mechanism, goes through a subway, gets kicked out. So this is our, this is the main toy. So the whole stage thing with the lighting and so on, lights dim down, and this goes and happens. So this is our main toy, and we, well, how does it sound? Does this sound like a cool toy to you guys? Yeah. Now the other toy I wanted to explain to you just briefly now is you see where the top or the upper right flipper is there? If you see that okay, the upper right flipper, above that you see there's another magnet at the top, and beneath that is a drop target. Well, artwork on the playfield and on a plastic surrounding that is of the torso of a person, and that drop target is the middle of the chest of that person. So you hit the chest and the drop target goes down, you can shoot the ball through the chest, magnet can hold it, and I'm going to talk about a different game for a second. You know how like on Shadow, the Sanctum, it drops the magnet a little bit, slings it up, back into the lock. Well, the idea here is it drops it down a little, slings it up to some rubbers above, which bounces it down, and the ball then shoots through the chest. That's that toy. So that sort of, you'll see that we've got a spinner there on this version too. We've got drop targets on the right hand side, underneath where that wireform is passing. And that completes where we are with the toys at the moment. We still have the space jockey in the bottom left hand side, but it's not on this version. This is meant to show you sideways on. And that was a close-up of the bottom of the playfield and of the top of the playfield. It kind of looks like it was a bit of a running joke actually. The Alien Queen does look like she's giving everybody the finger in this photo, but I have nothing to do with that. And the less said about the Xenomorph head, the better. It was just there just to try to illustrate where the placing was going to be. So, this just brings us on to just one or two small things then. We're just announcing here, we like to sort of give an announcement of any progress or any other things happening in the company. We are very happy to announce our Austrian distributor, who's distributing throughout Austria and also throughout the collectors' markets in Germany as well. The owner of RS Pinball is a gentleman called Stefan Riedler, and he just recorded a very short message, which I'll play you now.
Hi Andrew and the audience at ReplayFX in Pinball. A big congratulations from my side to the organizers of this big event. It's really looking amazing what I see in the internet. My name is Stefan Riedler and I'm the founder and owner of RS Pinball, relocated in Upper Austria. I'm very happy to announce that we're the official importer of Heighway Pinball for the Austrian market and for all private customers in Germany. I think the concept of Heighway Pinball is very innovative, and so I'm very excited on the future cooperation with Andrew and his whole team. We will get soon a delivery of our first machines, and you can see them here in our showroom or at the official launch on the 19th and 20th of September near Graz at the Austrian Pinball Open. Andrew will join us and we will be happy to answer your questions, enjoy the time with you and play football. So I hope you enjoy your time in Pinball and I wish you a nice day. Bye.
Well, there we go. That concludes the presentation side of what it is that we're doing here. We'd really like to invite anybody to ask myself or either of my colleagues here any questions. So. Mm-hmm. Well, basically, we have a Linux base as for our programming, but that's where it kind of stops, because everything else then has been designed really from the ground up. I mean, the roots of our software. I mean, actually, let me just hand over to Brian, who can tell you a little bit about the roots of the software and how we got to where we are software-wise.
Yeah, sure. So, like Andrew said, it is basically Linux underneath. It's a custom version that we've put together, so it's not any off-the-shelf Linux. We have one person on the team who's actually kind of our Linux guru, who's spent a lot of time, building that up and getting that solid.
Is it using like a standard processor, like ARM?
It's an ARM processor, yeah.
From there, I mean, that's from the software side of things, but everything hardware then is proprietary for us that we've developed. We have, I mean, the star of our show, if you like, is an I/O board that has been developed in-house, and it took about 2.5 years to get to the point where it is now. And basically, each of these I/O boards is very small. I mean, it's sort of that sort of size. Exactly, yes, as Brian demonstrated better than I did. And these are standard on all of our games, and each one of these can handle 8 solenoids, 24 switches, and over 100 LEDs. So these are all connected up via USB. And on full throttle, we have 3 underneath the playfield, and we have 1 in the cabinet. And so the whole thing is upscalable. If we wanted to build, another Twilight Zone with all of its many, many features, we just add an extra I/O board underneath the surface. I mean, it's really infinitely expandable. So.
Is the cabinet modular?
Absolutely, yes. All Heighway Pinball games can fit into our cabinets. So it's a 5-minute job, 5 to 10 minutes really at tops. An upgrade kit, if you like, consists of 2 side panels. We see the illuminated side panels there, It's actually quite nice to be able to have a game I can show you here. Normally when we do a seminar, I just have to try to describe it. You have the back glass art, you have the playfield, which just has 3 connectors on the back of it, and then you have the software on a USB stick. So literally the new game comes in its own box, so you just take it out, put it in, put the old one in there, you can store it underneath the cabinet in your garage, or somebody suggested to me we should have like this playfield rotisserie, which sounds great, you know, this sort of huge type thing, you know, moving around, you know, with 8 playfields on it, so it sounds great. If somebody wants to design one for us, I'm sure we'd like to build it. Doug?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of like programming languages that we actually use, yeah, it's C and C++ mostly. Yeah, we don't reuse any other pinball software that's out there in other languages. So yeah, it's all custom.
Just to sort of follow on, the reason why we went down this path, and Brian has been working with us really since the word go, is you know, we're pinball purists at heart, and you know, we love the way that Bally Williams games played in the early 90s. And when I formed this company, I got some people together that basically shared the same views as us, and so we wanted to build games which were quality games and had that same sort of feel, that same sort of functionality that Bally Williams games did. So you know, we were looking how we were going to do the software, and you know, Brian already had this amazing software, this 3WPC package there, which allowed people basically to go and, you know, reprogram these ROMs with their own rule sets, and you know, just burn a ROM and stick it in the game, and so on. You know, there's guys in the UK doing it with the likes of Corvette and I think Twilight Zone and other games as well. And so really it was a natural choice, because you know, a lot, even though it's almost become proprietary, the software in itself at this point now, or Brian's developed it to such an advanced stage, you know, even things like the ball search and so on, you know, its roots, if you like, its genetics, its DNA lie in where WPC was. So.
So you mentioned that you know, kind of model yourself after the Bally Williams era. And I think one of the things that we've seen recently spurred, particularly on the commercial side of operators, is the drive back towards simplicity for toys, because they're less likely to break. And with Bally Williams, you know, they're certainly very interesting complex, but pretty hard to contain. What's your view on that? You mentioned the alien toy sounds really cool, but also connected to something.
We have a lot of people in our company who are innovators, and you know, they share our passion for pinball, and we really want to build games where we can push the boundaries of what's possible on a pinball machine. You know, I'll be brutally honest, with Full Throttle, we took the safe option for our first game. We developed it like this to be ultra quick, to have all of this flow here, because you know, our goal, our company mission statement, if you like, is to make pinball mainstream again. You know, we all see how everything is booming in the collector's market, and you know, you guys in the USA are really driving the way with the whole sort of barcades and everything, but you know, Europe is still fast asleep as far as all of this is concerned, although there are a few, as our government likes to say, shoots of recovery in the UK alone. We've got a couple of barcades starting to pop up around the place. So, you know, I think you guys are very much leading the way with the market, and I think Europe will follow. I mean, Australia's already a good market, but I think other markets, the new markets, will follow too. But you know, to make pinball interesting, you know, we've tried to have a new innovative design. We've tried to pack it full with as much technology and innovation as possible, but we don't want to stop there. I mean, Roman, our technical director, for example, he's a robotics expert, so you know, he's really itching to get involved in the toys and to try to do really new and cool stuff. So we don't want to stand still. We want to continually innovate. So with Full Throttle, we did take a safe approach. I mean, I don't know if you remember from back in the early days, one of our toys was a vertical loop accelerator, similar to what the Getaway was, you know, semi-horizontally or diagonally. This thing was vertically, but it was proving too problematic, and we just weren't confident it was going to do the job. Plus, also, if you have balls shooting in an upwards motion, you know, we've got glass on the top of our playfield, so we were a little bit worried that, you know, 100-mile-an-hour, you know, ball might chest burst through the glass. Did you see what I did there? And the other thing on the playfield is the bump of the spinning wheels. These were meant to be spinning wheels that popped up and span and randomised the ball that way. But we were just a little bit worried on this game that if you hit the shaft too hard and maybe it slightly tilted over, it would get stuck coming down and the game would be unserviceable. So we just, with that in mind, we tried to make this as bulletproof as possible for operators because, you know, you can live and die by your first game, and, you know, this has just been designed to make a lot of money on site. So that's why we went down that road. So yes, we took the safe option with our first game, but you know, yes, we very much want to innovate for future games, but, you know, there is a fine balance between innovating and having toys where if they fail, stop the game. So I think the challenge is there is to have really cool toys, which if they don't happen to work, means that the game can still be in operation. Do we have any other questions? So again. Oh, I'll tell you what, I'll come back to you in 1 second. Bowen, let's go again.
Just want to describe some of the changes that have happened in the playfield or the rules or the between the early sports sites and what was the next 12 years now.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, we had the screen back then at Expo. We had the screen in the playfield surface there. We obviously we've also got the back box screen, which is now mirrored there, which we find that a lot of people are asking us for now, just because, you know, it's habitual, isn't it, looking up to try to see your score. So a lot of people are interested in that. That's something that has changed since then. You know, the rules have developed and moved a lot. You know, we've got the Valentino toy. I don't think that was there at Expo a year and a half ago. He's not quite right at the moment. We have lots of in-house jokes about him because he just seems to constantly turn away and show you his backside, which I think is unintentional, as he's insulting you, but he should be facing you forward a lot more. The idea is he's a little bit sort of supposed to be Captain Bizarre-ish in that he follows the ball where it's going, but as I said, he's a bit aloof at the moment, so we apologise for that. But yeah, the rules have developed a lot since then, and so some things have changed, some artwork parts have changed. I'm not sure where the artwork was back a year and a half ago. I think it was pretty much where it is now. But you know, one thing that's changed, and it's funny, the smallest little change can have such a big impact on what you're doing, which is we changed the size of our screen. So we went from a 10.4 inch 4:3 ratio screen to a 10.1 inch 16:10 ratio screen. And the reason we did that is because of availability in the market, firstly for the screens, plus also we get a much better resolution with that, but also to keep the cost down too. You know, we think that our second screen, which is as factory fit, the optional extra screen is $350, and we think that's very competitively priced, and we can do that because we can get a very good supply chain of these screens. So we're very happy with where we are with the screens. And I guess other changes, the prototype initially, we had the illuminated side panels there, but it was a much bigger cabinet even still. We really perfected and we're very happy with how we do the LED lighting for the side panels there. And so that's something that, I mean, and that's a lot of work went into that. I know it might look quite simple, but, you know, for example, if you just have like a plastic panel there, you know, you could just stick your foot through it and out comes the cash box and away you go if you're that way inclined. And somebody asked me that over the weekend, and no, you can't do that with that game. Yes, you might break the plastic, but behind that plastic is the wooden carcass. So our cabinet is made out of strong, thick ply inside, and then we have these panels bolted on the outside. So for security point of view, obviously it's paramount for operators. But to do that, I mean, we had probably about a year and a half, 2 years of testing and trying different methods. And we tried everything. We were trying to side lit the glass. We were trying to, you know, we tried everything to get to that point. But, you know, we're happy with it. Because the other challenge as well, of course, is that you had to be able to take the artwork out quickly. Our system required a very quick change. So if it was a permanent feature there and the artwork never changed, that would have made it even easier. So, you know, there have been many, many challenges to get to this point. The back box as well, for example, has to be quick release. You know, you want to take, because it doesn't fold down, but for me, folding the back box down could be a hindrance. I know we're all used to it, you know, taking the back box down, strapping it down, but you're limited the size going through a door with the size of the back box if you do that. Whereas we all know that, you know, traditional pinball games are a lot narrower on the body. So if you can just take the body through there, just think how many extra doors you can go through. So just little things like that. And one of the massive challenges we've had with this game, and again it's one of the reasons why we've been delayed to get to this point, is that we had to future-proof what we're doing here to allow us to be able to have this expandability if we wanted to be able to have the changeability of the cabinets, of the artwork, to be able to keep on top of all the latest technology. We had to think years in advance as to where we want to be. Like at the moment there's no topper on this, but we've got all the wiring in place for the topper, so we've got X amount of lighting we can have there, X amount of coils that we can have in there. So, you know, this is one of the reasons why it's taken us longer to get to where we are now, to make sure that we get it right first time. Because, you know, we don't want customers of our first games coming back to us and said, you guys are doing these great toppers now, I can't fit them on my game. You know, that's no good. So that's, I hope in a long-winded way I've answered your question.
Do you mind, I'd like to add something to, so Bowen, I know as a tournament player, you know, in terms of how rules evolve over time, I would say, you know, the rules are pretty much the same as they were a year ago. What we have focused on is trying to make the game more balanced. So if you look at, you know, there's 4 or 5 major objectives in the game, looking at what players are actually choosing to play, what are the fun shots on the game, and trying to encourage people to explore and play the whole game rather than just play 1 or 2 different things. So the scoring has adjusted a little bit. And then we've put a lot of effort into just the presentation and helping you to understand as you play the game what it is that you should be doing. So even though the rule has been there, there's a lot of stuff that people didn't know it was there because we didn't explain it very well. So.
And yeah, we haven't actually got that fully right yet. You know, there's still ways. I mean, I've been writing notes on my iPhone all over the last 4 days. Any comments people have made, things that I've noticed, things that the guys have noticed when we're playing it. You know, we don't claim to have got it absolutely right, but what we're doing is we're listening to people, and we want the game to be as good as possible. You know, one of the things it could do better, the game, is communicate with you what it is that you need to do. I mean, we know our rule set is very easy. I mean, I can stand next to you there and within 45 seconds to a minute, I can have told you all of the rules, and that's it, and off you go and play. But the game needs to communicate that, not me. I can't be by every game telling people what to do. Neither can my guys. So, you know, the game needs to communicate better. It needs, for example, one thing that a few people have mentioned is when you push the start button numerous times for multiplayer games, is you're not sure whether it's 2 or 3 or 4 player. That's just something we need to communicate better. It's a very easy fix, but it's something nevertheless that we need to do. Do we have any other questions? Sir? Absolutely, yes. Well, we've had a number of conversations with a number of people, and you know, our doors are open to talk to people about doing contract manufacturing. You know, we've got more than enough space. In fact, actually, that sounds like a good time to go and ask about for our next poster then, as to how much space we now have in our factory. So I'll tell you, the first factory we had is 14,000 square feet. Can anybody guess the square footage size of our new factory? 100,000 square feet. Any other offers?
75,000.
75. What was that?
45.
What?
45,000.
Anybody else? Anybody else?
35.
So we're nearly there.
35.
No, no. No.
43.
So close. Yes, 42.
Ah.
Things go on down, and let's give you our poster, 42,000 square feet. So, let's have a round of applause, please. Congratulations. So yeah, so we have a factory virtually triple the size now. And to be honest, we're only using 1/2 of the units at the moment because it makes no sense to use it all until we get to that capacity. But we have the equipment there, we have the processes there, so as and when we ramp up production, especially by the time we get to Alien, we can make that transition pretty quickly. Do you have any other questions? Okay, I think that's all questions then. So again, I'd just like to thank you all for coming along. And we'll stay here for a short while longer if anybody wants to come and ask us any questions. Other than that, we'll be back down at our stall until closing. So thank you very much all for having us. It's been our pleasure. Thank you.